Steve grew for 20 plus years. Happy birthday to you, baby. Love you to death. And thank you for sticking around. I think this will make, let's see how many coaches we've been through as a married couple. I think as a married couple, we have gone through Dan Reeves, Jim Mora, Bobby Petrino, Dan Quinn, and now Arthur Smith. So 20 years of marriage, 5 head coaches, that should speak volumes on the Atlanta Falcons. It says, how y'all doing? Glad to see y'all come in here. How you doing, Amari? I'm sorry. Amani, Steven, Epic, Philip, and talk to you in a minute. How you doing, brother? RJ, Lisa, tell that McLeod guy to find another team. You know what? Ted is troll extraordinaire. I don't pay him a lot of attention sometimes. RJ, and yeah, Mike Smith. Thank you. I apologize. Thank you, Stephen. I appreciate that. So that's 6, right? Is that 6? That's 6 head coaches? Sounds right. Dan Reeves, Jim Mora, Bobby Petrino, Mike Smith, Dan Quinn, and now Arthur Smith. And I'm sure everyone is saying to yourself, Steve, why are you sitting here talking about how many years you've been married? Because she has had to deal with my ups and downs about my team through 5 previous head coaches. So I honor her for doing that. But it just goes to show you the stability of this franchise. I mean, I'm sure there are other franchises that are worse. I'm sure you probably Tampa Bay, if you look at their history, Cleveland is no telling, even though Belichick did drop through there. That's a lot of losing years, man. That's a lot of losing. I don't want to say losing coaches overall, but I'm saying coaches that have not taken us to the mountaintop. So we have to kind of see where that is as far as our franchise history is concerned. Edwin, how you doing, sir? Jimmy was here every 5 years. Hey, that's what it is, man. My sister, every 29th birthday to my wife, Kira. She is on 29. I'm not going to tell you how many times she celebrated 29th birthday, but that's it. All right, let's get down to brass tacks. Atlanta has officially hired a head coach. And his name is a familiar one, at least his first name, Arthur. His name is Arthur Smith, and he's the offensive coordinator from the Tennessee Titans, that of Derrick Henry, Tennessee Titans. And honestly, I heard his name several times, as many people have, but I don't sit here and try to pretend like I go through every single candidate's bio, which I know some of you may do a little bit more intensely. But I was interested to see a little bit about this guy and see what he's about, because and I had his bio pulled up here, but yeah, it's just a little interesting to me. I'm not one to sit here and try to judge a hire, because listen, I didn't know much about Dan Quinn before, and 2 years later, Dan Quinn took us to the Super Bowl. So I want to give this guy a chance. First thing that obviously rings out to you that he's 38 years old. So he'll be one of the youngest coaches in the NFL, along with Sean McVay and trying to think who else. I think Kyle is a little older than that. But that's the first thing that strikes me. So relatability maybe to folks who are in the league right now. So not so much old school. We didn't go previous coach. I heard somebody make a complaint about that, about us not being able to get a proven coach. Well, my answer to that, anytime somebody brings that up, most of the proven coaches probably have jobs. And really, I'm trying to think aside of Tony Dungy, and I'm sure you all will tell me what other coaches out there are sitting around at home with championships and just saying, I don't want to coach. And I'm not talking about, don't tell me Dick Vermeil or people who are, a lot older and can't deal with the stress. But, it's something to think about. I don't have a problem. I'm not going to have a problem with this hire because it's new. And then, of course, along with him should be, hopefully this Sunday, if New Orleans rolls over and dies on Sunday against Tampa Bay. I can't believe I'm rooting for Tampa Bay, but I am. Can't go for the Saints. Terry Fontenot looks like he's going to be our GM. Sounds like one of those not going to make it official until they actually lose. So that seems like that's going to be our leadership group heading into the first part of the 2020s. What do I know about Terry Fontenot? I know he's been part of a pretty decently successful franchise over the last decade plus. I know he was part of a really good draft class in 2017 and 18, where he pretty much turned the fortunes of the 2016 Saints, who we were defeated on our last game of 2016, into consistent NFC champions since that day. You think about that draft he did, and that's the thing I point at. And I know Mickey Loomis is the head GM, but I always say behind a great mind is always somebody behind him. And it sounds like this young man may have been somebody who was helping in those decisions. That 2017 draft where they got Lattimore, Marcus Williams, and the guy wrecking havoc now, Hendrickson, on the defensive line. That seems like that was a pretty good draft. Going to go through some of these comments. Forgive me if I don't get to all of them, folks. But Sean, thank you very much. It's happy New Year and happy birthday to my wife. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. How you doing, Paul? Good to see you, sir. Thank you for typing in with us. Shamari, say, let's get down to the nitty gritty with this GM head coach tandem. What do you think we'll be doing with this fourth pick, and what makes sense to you? That is the greatest question, and I cannot wait to see what they publicly say. Because you got to remember, too, folks, they're going to be playing a few games when you're at this press conference. There's no way you're going to tell me on January, whenever they announce it, the 18th or 19th, or whenever Arthur Smith or Terry Fontenot comes out in front of the Zoom camera and talks to the public. They're not going to say, well, with the fourth pick, we're trying to get Justin Fields. With the fourth pick, we're trying to get Sewell from Oregon. With the fourth pick, we're trying to get Parsons and redo the defense. They'll give you their philosophy, I'm sure. But as far as who they pick, they would be foolish to throw that out there. Because there's so many things going on right now. It seems like the first domino fell when Urban Meyer took the job at Jacksonville. Now, I'm pretty sure that Urban Meyer wouldn't have taken that job if he knew exactly what he wanted in the draft, seeing as how you have the number one pick. There are some who think that because of the ties to Ohio State, he would go out there and try to get Justin Fields. It would be interesting if he did. I'm not feeling it. I think you probably have to take Trevor Lawrence first, my opinion. But it will be interesting to see. So to answer your question, I don't think you show your hand this early. You don't. You can't. It's too many things going out there. Too much of our decisions on our personnel haven't been made yet. So I don't think you can actually show your hand. Now, as far as I'm concerned, I'm sticking to my guns right now, and what I'm thinking for this franchise, you must have a quarterback. And either I suggest round one, but who knows what might happen or what possible deals you might get to move up into your position. But either way, you must have a quarterback in this draft, and it must be somebody that you think can lead your franchise into the next couple of years. Don't come up to me with Mond out of Mississippi State. I'm not very high on Trask at Florida. I don't know if you all are. Tell me if you are. I'm not. But as far as the Falcons franchise is concerned, I think if you're Arthur Miller and I think if you're Terry Fontenot, you have an opportunity right now with a top 5 pick. I've talked about this last week. You don't get an opportunity to have a top 5 pick every year unless you're just traditionally horrible. We've usually been just bad enough to where we're in that 14, 15, 16 range. And we get a middle of the road guy. We have a top 4 pick. So you have a lot of options on the table. I don't think you're going to see Terry Fontenot or Arthur Smith go out there and show their hand that first time. Y'all feel free to give me a ring as well. Put the number up here. I think it was up there. 1-877-747-2346. I am on YouTube live as we speak right now on Steve Sports Talk More, and predominantly in the great Atlanta Bird Gang group at this time. Let's go down the list a little bit. Jordan says, since the plan is to hire Terry, do you think he had any say-so on the Falcons hiring Arthur Smith? I'm pretty sure he knew. I'm pretty sure if he didn't make the decision himself, and I don't think he can publicly say he made that decision because he's technically not a part of the organization now. So that might be one of those questions that you never will hear answered. But I'm pretty sure, Jordan, he knew what the plan was on what coach they were bringing in. I know there were huge rumors about Joe Brady at one time, but it sounds like that's not happening. Kenzel, how you doing, Steve? How do you feel that we have to get a Saint personnel to fix the Falcons? Come on, man. Let me tell you something. I am absolutely not a Saints fan by any means. I'm not. But you have to respect what they're doing in their front offices. If you guys remember, the Saints were in the same position as us as far as salary cap were concerned. They were hurting bad. They were probably hurting worse than we were. Drew Brees had a horrible contract. There was thoughts after that 2000 season that Drew Brees was done. And then you turn around and you see what they did with the draft. So if he's part of that team, I'm willing to take him. Caller, how you doing? This is Steve. Thanks for joining me. Identify yourself.
Hey, what's going on, Steve? It's Armani Newsom.
How you doing, Armani? Good to talk to you, my brother. How you feeling about today, man? What's your vibe from hearing about the hire?
So for me, I think it's a good hire. You know, a lot of people are, I would say, upset because it wasn't Joe Brady or, Eric Bieniemy, but, I think it's a good hire. According to NFL and ESPN, he was the hottest head coaching candidate out there, getting interviewed by several teams. And, I think Arthur Smith made the right move. And I just wanted to say, man, there's a lot of people out there, especially a lot of Matt Ryan fans out there, which we call Ryan Knight, and they said they thinking that we're sticking with Matt Ryan just because we hired Arthur Smith, and I don't know where they got that analogy from. You know, if he makes Ryan a better quarterback, cool, I'm all for keeping Matt Ryan. You know, but I think at this juncture in his career, and the possibility that probably not going to get a high pick like this in a while, I think we have to take a quarterback at number 4. What you think?
Number 4, I have to think if Lawrence, Fields, or even Wilson is possible in the top 4, I think you have to make a move. To your point, as far as those who are still stuck in 2008, and listen, let me stop Armani before I stop, because I don't want to feel like I'm disrespecting. There's this thing that people think you're disrespecting his legacy. It's just time to move on, right?
Yeah, I mean, and like you said, I appreciate everything Matt has done for the organization. You know, I've said some things about Matt Ryan that people might not like because most of it is true, if not all of it. But you know, it's just a time in an organization where it's time for both people to move on. You know, it's nothing personal. You know, a lot of people get tied in their personal feelings as the players and not staying true to the logo, as we would say. You know, so you know whether it's Julio or Matt or you know, those guys are going to come and go. But, you know, the Atlanta Falcons is going to be here. And, you know, us as fans have to be here when they decide to move on from those players because it's going to happen.
As I've told you, as I said at the very beginning when I was talking, I have been a lifelong Falcon fan. It sounds like you have too. We have been through this before, maybe not with the social media aspect, but we have been through this before, and we'll probably more than likely in a few years, hopefully a long time, we'll have to deal with it again. Amani, before you leave, give me a thumbs up on thumbs down on the hire. It sounds like I already know your answer, but I just want to ask everybody before I let them go.
Oh yeah, well, it's a definitely thumbs up, A+ for me. I said he's been leading number 1 in scoring and in rushing. A lot of people are saying that he's only had it because of Derrick Henry, but you know, that's I mean, you can make that argument, but at the end of the day, somebody has to call the plays and draw the plays up.
You can make a little bit of argument, but you can also argue that he revitalized Ryan Tannehill's career. When Ryan Tannehill was thrown out for trash in Miami, and all of a sudden he comes to Tennessee and he's a revitalized quarterback now. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt. That's why I think. You know, the Ryanites feel like that we're gonna, stick with Matt Ryan, as we probably are through the first couple of games. Even if we take a quarterback, I can understand that. But I think if the time comes, we have to pull the trigger. I think he will pull the trigger and be like, all right, it's time to put the new kid in. But at the end of the day, it's about us winning and moving forward as an organization, as a fan base. So, you know, it is what it is, and I think we'll be all right. Love to hire.
Amani, brother, I appreciate you, man. Stay close to us. We're gonna be on all the way through the GM hire, and please give us a call later on, buddy.
All right, now, okay, take care.
Take care, buddy. I appreciate that, and his point is made. You know, for those, and listen, I understand there's an attachment to Matt Ryan. I get it. If you've been hanging around somebody for a long time, whether it be a family member or somebody that you love or in a relationship with, sometimes it's hard to let go. But if there is a time that you know whatever's going on is not good, you're going to have to. There are things that Matt Ryan has brought to this team that are far and beyond what any of his predecessors brought prior to 2008. And still very solid to this day. But as far as going forward, we have to start thinking about life after Matt. Caller, how you doing? This is Steve. Thanks for joining us tonight. Identify yourself for us.
This is the Mr. Flying Hot Podcast.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man.
Talk to me, man. What's your feeling on this hire?
I love it. But if I'm Arthur Blank and I'm looking towards the future, why don't you trade Matt Ryan right now to the Texans for Deshaun Watson?
That's a very good question, Ron, and I'm glad you asked. We have been seeing that particular caption so many times as far as trading for Deshaun Watson. And I have a shared screen that I'm going to try to pull up in a couple of seconds, but I'm going to give you some numbers real quick, and y'all stay with me just for a couple of seconds because we're going to talk this out. So Matt Ryan this year, his base salary is $23 million, not to include the signing bonus of $9.3 million that he gets, his roster bonus. If you were to cut Matt Ryan right now or trade Matt, well, let me start here. If you were to cut Matt Ryan, you will still be on the dock for $49 million in space. If you trade Matt Ryan, folks seem to believe that cap goes away. It does not. You are still on the books for a $40 million cap hit, even if you trade Matt Ryan. We won't physically have to give him the money, but as far as the space we are allotted to use on our roster, it still counts. Now, I'm going to get one more thing in. If you cut Matt Ryan if you put a post June 1st designation on him, the cap hit will be a lot less, $23,412,000. Now, I say all that to say, let's go to the Houston Texans for 1 second. And then I'm staying with you. I want you to stay with me, Ron, on this. If we go to Houston, and I'm pulling it up right now, and I apologize. And I don't know why it didn't come up. But Deshaun Watson's hit, and I forgive me because I don't know why my internet all of a sudden screwed up on me. But his hit is $40 million plus. We have to still absorb his contract while dealing with a deficit of $40 million on our books. You can't do it. Well, you can do it, but you'll have a quarterback and a lot of practice squad people on your team.
But the way I was looking at Arthur Smith, he's going to cut a lot of people on this team.
Is he going to cut Grady?
No, he will not cut Grady.
Is he going to cut Dion?
He may be.
He ain't cutting Dion. Is he gonna cut? Is he gonna cut? I'm sorry, I was just about to mention his name. Is he gonna cut AJ?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a rookie.
Okay, so is he gonna cut Calvin Ridley?
No.
Okay, so some of the names that you're mentioning that I just mentioned, those folks are getting paid. I know Ridley isn't off the chain now, but he's got a 5th-year option coming up pretty soon. So if you do the let's trade Matt Ryan thing, you're not going to be able to pull that off. Like, just putting in simpleton terms, you can't do it. Not in today. And also keeping in mind, the cap is unlike the last 20 years where the cap has steadily rised up. The cap is going to take a hit this year because of COVID. So you're not going to be able to do that. I understand the hometown tie. I understand you hear Watson's having problems. I get all of that. But you're not going to be able to make that move as easily as you think.
Right.
So, yeah.
I look at Watson. He's younger. He's doing it without a number one, a number two, a number three wide receiver. He's doing it without a top tight end. He's doing it without a good defense. He's doing all this by himself.
Now you talking about Arthur Smith?
Huh?
You talking about Arthur Smith was doing that in Tennessee?
No, I'm talking about Deshaun Watson.
Oh, Deshaun Watson. I see what you're saying. But Deshaun Watson, would you also agree though? And that's funny that you say that too. Do you know there's a little bit of conflict with Will Fuller because Will Fuller wants to get paid, but he's not going to be able to get paid.
Right.
So when you talk about trying to, maneuver bringing in a big contract and getting rid of a big contract, and remember, you're taking on a bigger contract. Did you see the length of his contract? That's a $400 million contract, which you can get rid of, or you can downgrade after a few years. But still, that's a lot of money.
Right.
You know?
I mean, I look at Matt Ryan been in the league for 13 years. And we went to one Super Bowl. And Matt Ryan came in with a lot of weapons. He had a Waddy White. He had all these big-time players, and he had not produced.
Yeah, but let's be honest. Look, I don't want this to be the Matt Ryan poo-poo show because Matt Ryan didn't allow a defense to score 20-plus points in the fourth quarter. Matt Ryan didn't let the team come back in San Francisco when San Francisco came back against us in the NFC Championship. I'm not going to make it about that. What I am going to say is, as far as the trade is concerned, what you're talking about, it just doesn't make good money sense. Even if you said, hey, we're going to make it work by any means necessary, you're going to have the situation you're talking about him in Houston. Houston was also 4-12 this year. It wasn't like Houston was lighting it up. So, I don't know. You're going to have to kind of think about that when you mention it. Ron, so overall, you're going to get, so it sounds like you're giving it a thumbs down, right?
With the whole Arthur Smith, I love it.
You love it. Okay. It sounded like at first you said you didn't like it. Okay. My bad.
No.
I apologize.
No, I love it, but I still would like to draft another quarterback to put some fire on the Matt Ryan.
Yeah, I agree. I think you're echoing the same thought I had. Ron, tell everybody real quick the podcast you guys are on during the week so we can spread that love for you.
We on the Flying High Podcast. They come on Saturdays at 11 o'clock. We break everything down about the Atlanta Falcons, and we tell you what we think, and we tell you what we like and what we don't like.
I poke my head in there every now and then. Most of the time I'm at work when you're doing that, but I do poke my head in just to see what y'all doing. Ron, continue the good work, brother, and please, 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 please continue to call me, brother.
All right.
Thank you, man. I've heard that several times, and listen, folks, I would love to be able in another dimension be able to pick up Deshaun Watson and bring him on, but we can't do it, y'all. We can't do it, and I know it sounds good and it looks good on your Madden screen and it looks good when you're making a trade for fantasy football, but you can't absorb that contract. Caller, how you doing? This is Steve. Thanks for joining us today. Identify yourself for us.
How you doing, Steve? This is Keelan.
What's up, Keelan? How you doing, brother?
Man, I'm okay. It's a good day.
Look, I'm gonna let you take a break from politics so you can come in here and talk sports with me now, so we can calm ourselves.
Yeah, calm down. I can take a break.
So I'm interested, brother. What's your take on the hire today?
perfectly honest, I didn't know much about Arthur Smith. I had to do my research, but you can't argue with his numbers on his offense this year. And he's been in the league for a while. I see that he's been with the Titans for 10 years. And I think it's a good pick. I think it's a good hire.
And one of the things the caller 2 callers ago was saying, Keelan, about but he had Derrick Henry, but he also inherited a Ryan Tannehill who was pretty much on the Josh Rosen track.
I heard that, and I agree with your point.
Yeah.
And he had Derrick Henry, but the thing is, and my problem with our past few years is that we have weapons. We have offensive weapons, and we have some defensive weapons that is paying out. But our offense was kind of stagnant in the later quarters.
Right.
And Arthur Smith is showing me that he knows what to do with what he has.
You can't argue with that. I mean, we've seen anytime you can get a team, which is, and I know we keep going back to the Kyle Shanahan thing. Right. Kyle Shanahan, if you think about it, made no names names. Before the Super Bowl year, Keelan, had you really heard of Taylor Gabriel? Had you really heard of Aldrick Robinson? Had you really paid attention? I'm talking about people we brought in. I knew about Alex Mack. I knew about Sanu. But he made some of those guys very marketable after they left here. Right. Because of the system he did. I'm thinking this Arthur Smith, judging by what I'm looking at and the strides that Tennessee has made over the last few years, he's done a great job, and he isn't even 40 yet. He's younger than me and you. So I like that. I'm old school. I was looking for a hard-nosed, old-school coach, but that's not the way the league is going these days. And I heard a lot of conversation about Matt Ryan. I am a huge Matt Ryan fan. And I defended Matt Ryan all the way up to this year because I still defend him somewhat because, he can't throw on his back and he doesn't play defense. Right. But it's time for change. And you're right. We can't get rid of him next year. And it's he will be, much to everyone's chagrin, he's going to be our starting quarterback. Right. Day one. Now, that could change by game 10. But he's going to be our quarterback day one, and that's just a fact. I want to ask one more question from you before you. What is your thought about the impending hire of Terry Fontenot? I was again, until his name started coming up recently, and I have started looking. He's been in that organization for a while as well, and I'm sure he was in the draft room when they were making some of those picks that changed their organization in the last couple of years. That's one of my things. I don't do a lot of study on general managers or personnel with different organizations, right. So I haven't researched them yet. Mm-hmm. And I had more anxiety about the general manager hire than I did coach. And I feel you on that. And I'm kind of thinking like we were talking a call ago. I think even though he officially couldn't say anything, I'm sure he knew Arthur Smith was coming in here as the coach because even though I hope that's the case because my thing was I was hoping that we would hire a general manager first, so both can be on the same page. Right. As far as how the team needs to look and what players they need to draft and who needs to be drafted first. Right. So I hope they're in concert with each other and we can move this thing. And just because we were 4-12 this year doesn't mean a new coach can't come in here and we can end up in the playoffs again and make a run. Our point differential at the end of the year was minus 16. We were 4-12. Our point differential. We can turn this thing around. I don't know if you looked at the schedule, and I'm getting ready to talk about that in a minute. But I think we can do it. I think we can. We really can. So you say thumbs up on the hire, right?
I say thumbs up on the hire.
Keelan, I appreciate you, brothers. Stay tuned with us. We'll probably jump on when they make the general manager hire as well, man. Stay good out there, all right?
Hey, tell your Kira I say happy birthday.
I will definitely let her know, buddy.
All right.
Take care now. Okay, so that's 3 thumbs up. So, I mean, it probably can't be that, that bad. Just, I don't know. I'm feeling like now he did bring up one good point just to say, I hope that he and Terry have had conversations, because you wouldn't want to hire a general manager that doesn't know anything about the head coach, because they will have to work together. So hopefully they will get that. Rusty, what's going on? I'm going to say we trade down. I don't see Smith taking a quarterback at number 4. He's making Tannehill look like a Pro Bowler. I see Max Jones being Smith type of quarterback. A mobile quarterback isn't necessary for his scheme. I don't want to say a mobile quarterback. People get that so twisted sometimes. When we say mobile, that doesn't mean run for 100 yards. I'm talking about somebody that can extend plays. I am so jealous of Buffalo right now. I am so jealous of Arizona right now. I am so jealous of what, even, say what you want to say, Baker Mayfield right now. Those guys have a little bit of mobility. Matt Jones, you cannot deny what he did for that team. Awesome game. Deserve all the accolades he can get and all of that. There has to be something said about him playing with probably one of the top 2 most talented teams around. And maybe just my eyes right now are not making me think that Matt Jones is that guy. I'm not. And I disagree with you. I think Arthur Smith is looking to the future. He might be able to say, you know what? If we're going to have Matt for a couple of years, or I'm trying not to get y'all fired up at me. If we're going to have him 1 year, I think I can turn him into a winner. And while we're turning you to a winner, I'm going to bring somebody in from this kind of top-heavy quarterback class and let him sit and learn how to be a quarterback. Again, there aren't too many quarterbacks that I wouldn't say, hey, come learn how to be. Not as far as throwing the deep ball, not as far as his arm strength, but as far as learning how to galvanize an organization, how to galvanize your teammates. You can say whatever you say. When is the last time you heard any Falcon say that Matt Ryan wasn't a good teammate? When have you ever heard somebody say Matt Ryan wasn't a good teammate? I have never heard that. Those are the type of things that I look at to hear what people's opinions are as far as the players who are in there with Matt Ryan, to learn from him. Yeah, he's going to have one more lap around the ring, but at least learn from him. Caller, how you doing today? This is Steve. Thanks for joining us. Identify yourself for everybody.
Hey, what's going on, Steve? This is Marquise.
Marquise, how you doing, man?
Hey, how you doing, brother?
Oh, man, Happy New Year to you, brother. What's your thoughts on this hire?
I like the hire, man. I like it. Like some people mentioned earlier, you were talking about it, about how Tannehill was in Miami. Everybody thought Tannehill was in Miami. He was ineffective. He didn't do much at all. He was indecisive. For Tennessee, he looks like a totally different quarterback. Now, we know he's not the top of the top, he's a quarterback, but he's midway he's thoroughly improved. Matter of fact, he got the award for most improved quarterback most improved player last year.
Right.
So, I see what he did with Tannehill, man. I like that. And then he has a commitment to run the ball. Of course, he had Derrick Henry to do it.
Yeah, that helps a little bit.
I'm an Alabama fan, so if you look at Henry's stats before I showed up, they were okay, they were mediocre, right. And now Henry's back-to-back rushing champ. You know what I'm saying? So what he had.
So you might be the perfect person to ask this question because you talk about Alabama. I'm going to pivot the conversation just a second. We are in desperate need of a running game here in the Falcons. I truly don't think we're going to have any of the running backs that we had here next year. My opinion right now. I look at Najee Harris, and it's an interesting case because they don't get to where they get without Najee being able to balance out that passing game. Is Najee worth, and I'm not necessarily saying for the Falcons, but is he worth a top 10 pick at running back to you?
There's no running back worth a top 10 pick.
Okay.
Anymore.
So
yeah. And not even people talk about Saquon Barkley. I still wouldn't have took Saquon in the top. He's been hurt. Look how much he's been hurt. I would have took Saquon Barkley in the top 5 or 10 when he went. It's just not. I say later round. I mean not later round. Later first round maybe. If we can trade down, maybe get him in the later first round or early second round. I just don't think any running back is worth it. I think the world of that. I just don't think any running back is worth picking in the top 10, 15. Top 20.
And if you think about it, think about the Super Bowl last year. Both teams used the rotation. Now, granted, Kansas City went out and got Hilaire this year, but he still is not he might be our running back one, but they still use Damian Williams, and they picked up Le'Veon Bell. Think about what Frisco was doing. They had Breida. They had Mostert. They had Tevin. So they were still using that rotational thing as far as running backs is concerned. To your point, I just don't think running back is as hot of a commodity as it is now. So unfortunately for Najee, I'm not sure whether his need is going to be where somebody's going to pick. I've heard many people say, go get Najee at number 4. No. You can't do it.
In the top 5, and there's a quarterback first, they take quarterback. Period. Like, I've always thought that. To me, you just have to, and especially at this point in our franchise, like, you have to take the quarterback.
Right.
You know, if you got to sit behind that, you got to sit behind that. It is what it is.
Yeah, listen. Fields, Wilson, Lance, who was my sleeper, I think all those guys could learn on the sideline behind Matt. I think you have to get a quarterback and look to the future for this team. Even if you plan on getting rid of Matt's contract, which I'm sure in 2022, there's no way that Matt's going to they're going to have that big contract hanging around. At least you can say your quarterback got a little bit of, time to learn and time to get out there and do what we need to do.
Man, Patrick Mahomes spent a year, man. He started the last game behind Alex Hill. I know everybody used to that. If Pat Mahomes can sit a year, any other quarterback can come in here this year. I don't know that.
Aaron Rodgers sat for 2, right? Yeah, or 3. Two or 3 years. Before, yeah, that used to be the old school. Be honest with you. When you drafted a quarterback number 1, a lot of times they did not start unless your team was just pathetic, like the Falcons when they got Mark Carson. But even Michael Vick as the number 1 overall pick, he did not start until the second to last game. It was the last game or the second to last game of the year he came out. So there is no there's no crime to say we'll pick now and then let them learn behind a professional quarterback.
What it is that money got big. I was talking to a friend about this the other day. When Sam Bradford came out, do you remember that?
Yes. Yes.
For about money for his first contract, and he didn't produce and got hurt. That's what they were expecting. Okay, we're paying all these quarterbacks a lot of money, so they need to start when they or be in a starting, ready to start coming out of college, and that's just not the case for most rookie quarterbacks. Like every now and then you catch fire, like the guy in San Diego. LA.
Oh yeah, Herbert. Yeah.
Yeah, every now and then you catch fire like that. But remember, Josh Allen and Buffalo, he was terrible his first year.
And this more, you're gonna find more that if those guys get an opportunity to sit for a couple of games and learn more than just throw them out there to the fire. And I was telling somebody, nobody has answered this question for me. Matt Ryan, when is the last rookie to start day one and take his team to the playoffs since 2008? And if you think about it, type in and let me know. But I pose that question to everybody out there. And I'm trying to think, is it one? I was thinking about that when we were on last time. The last rookie quarterback to start his rookie year and take his team to the playoffs, 10-6 that year. And it doesn't happen a lot. So that's helping my point to say you don't necessarily have to throw them out there the first game and think that it's going to be roses the first time you put them out there. So you give them you give the move a thumbs up, right?
I give it a thumbs up, and I give it a thumbs up. We need a change. And just hearing I've been listening, I've on the internet and listening to radio and hearing, because Harry Douglas, he played up in Tennessee after he left.
Right.
He was talking about, he's like, he's a big guy. He's like, he can't work every day. He's grinding his way from the bottom in that organization. So, and that's what everybody has said from what I heard.
Harry's good. I've literally had a chance to meet Harry. Harry talks straight with you. That person you hear on the radio, he's actually very straight up with folks, man. Brother, thank you for calling, man. Please call back, man. We'll update y'all again when this general manager hire is made too. Appreciate you. Thank you, man. I'm gonna let her know. Thank you. She's probably watching now. Thanks, man. So yeah, and so let me go back real quick because I didn't get a chance to answer that question for Ron, who was talking about the trading of Deshaun Watson. So Deshaun Watson this year, no problem this year, because his base salary is only $10 million and his signing bonus is only 5.4. So his actual cap towards the team for Houston, which is why they probably are not going to trade him, is only $15 million. What happens is when you start thinking about what if you were to cut him, if you were to cut or trade him, if you were to trade Deshaun Watson right now, his hit would be $67,140,000. Now they could split that up if I remember watching that class correctly. They can spread that out a little bit, but they eventually have to make up for $67 million. And if they were to do a post-June 1st cut on him, he would still be at $50,940,000. Again, not ideal numbers. June says, what if Ryan had a MVP caliber season next year? Do you still move on at the end of the season and let the young quarterback take the reins, or do you roll on with Matt and leave a quarterback taken at number 4 sit on the bench for a potential 2 to 3 seasons. Matt is still 30. He'll be 37 next year. And I understand where you're saying that. We're playing devil's advocate for those of us who are thinking that Matt is about to, his limbs are falling off, which they're not. So to your point, you're saying if Matt has an Aaron Rodgers year, where they drafted Jordan Love out of Utah State, and then all of a sudden now Aaron Rodgers is probably going to be the MVP, what do you do with Jordan Love? Prior to the 2000s, that's still an investment, folks. Just because you pick a quarterback at number 4 overall in the draft, that doesn't mean he's guaranteed that he has to start day 1 of 2021 or day 1 of 2022. He can be your quarterback in 2023 and ride out, squeeze whatever you can out of that lemon from Matt Ryan. There's no guarantee that he has to jump into the game. I would keep him on the bench to answer your question. Caller, how you doing? This is Steve. Thanks for calling me. Identify yourself for everybody.
Hey, what's going on? This is
Hey, man, what's going on now? Happy New Year to you.
Hey.
Talk to me. What do you think about this move?
So with the Arkansas move, I was the only thing I'm saying is not to offend anybody, but he has done a lot of great things so far because he's coached on pretty much every aspect of that type of team. He came in as DC, and he found his niche as offensive coordinator, which means he can, if he sees something wrong in the game, he'll step in and fix the situation. Something that Game Point didn't do. So not only does he have an offensive mind, he came in coaching defense. So if he sees players out of position, he's going to hold them accountable and put them where they need. So that's a great pick. Now, depending on who we bring in as a then I can really see exactly where our team is going to be moving in the future.
That's going to be, and nobody's brought that up as of right now because we're, in the honeymoon phase of bringing him in. But you're absolutely right. He's going to have to make 2 key hires with the offensive coordinator, which I think he'll probably have a big hand in it anyway, and whoever is running this defense. It's funny you say that. My computer all of a sudden magically came back on. I did see where he was the defensive quality control coach back in 2011 with Tennessee and has, to your point, gone through the offensive line, tight ends, assistant tight ends, offense coordinator. At Washington, he was the defensive quality assistant in 2007 and 2008. I mean, to your point, if you're going to be a head coach, for you to be able to have put your finger in each, bowl, that bodes well for us going forward, I would think, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because he was only known as the defensive line coach before, I believe it was North Carolina who left, and he took over that. He had only coached the defensive line. But with our defense, he's coached defense, he's coached the tight end, he's coached the defensive line, he's coached the DBs at one point, running back. So he's pretty much coached every position in the NFL.
Right.
In different positions. So with them coming to Atlanta, a team that has talent, but it just wasn't coached. I feel like him being able to put his hands on each piece of the pie helps us in a lot of ways.
Right. And look, if you're going to be the head of an organization and the head coach, as much as the GM, yeah, you do the operations and stuff, but the man out front, the man who's going to be answering the question, the person who's going to be who's going to answer for whether we're failing or not is going to be Arthur Smith. So from his standpoint, I would say it's a good thing that he's had all those experiences. It's a great thing that he brings a little bit of knowledge on both sides of the ball. That to me is awesome. as far as that's concerned. What, just out of curiosity, and I'm asking questions at the top, what is your idea for that number 4 pick?
I'm one of the guys who's saying go quarterback, or I feel we go with I think it's Mika Parsons.
Yeah, out of Penn State, the linebacker.
So with either one of those two, I'll be happy with. Like, I know a lot of us want to say, oh, we need to go running back, whatever. But it just doesn't make sense to running back in the draft when running back have a NFL expectancy of 3 to 4 years. Not that.
Yeah, you can't do that. You can't do that at all. I think running back, as we're being shown with what's my buddy with the Colts this year, Taylor, running his behind off. If you have the offensive line, which I still have belief in this offensive line. I know the offensive line was torn up a little bit earlier in the year where people were kind of criticizing. But if you really look at things, and we kind of saw some habitual things that Matt was doing later on in the year, I think the offensive line did a good job. I think they did okay. I'm not saying that they're, one of the top 10 groups in the NFL, but I think they held up pretty well. I just don't think we had the people running the ball that could run the ball that well. Once they got through the hole, well, if they can get through the hole in Gurley's position, but once they got through the hole, they just didn't have that electric juice to get those 4 to 5 yard runs, in my opinion.
So the offensive line that we have, I feel it's more based on protection than it is on running.
That's true. This is true.
We don't have
this is true.
players that are, we don't have offensive linemen that are mobile enough to do the type of play calling that Coder was calling.
Right.
They're different guys, so they're better at holding protecting and allowing them to throw the ball when you're not passing and tearing down the receiver. But as far as them trying to run and create holes, they weren't that. They're not built for that. So it doesn't matter. We can have Derrick Henry back there.
Right. Exactly. And we had incorporated the cut block scheme for so long. And I think we switched up to say, hey, now we're building a line on protecting Matt. Because when we had the cut block scheme, that's why Devonta and Tevin and even Michael Turner back in the day were able to accomplish what they could. The last few years, it's been more about, hey, let's try to protect Matt. And that change of philosophy has definitely hurt the running game. So you think, so overall, you say heads up, thumbs up on the hire, right?
Absolutely.
Thumbs up. I appreciate it, man. Thank you for calling. Hang in there, man. We're going to probably come on next week, talk about this general manager thing. Please call us back, okay?
Yes, sir.
Thanks, man. I do. I just think you can find running backs. If you look at the majority of the conferences, when you look at the SEC, you look at the ACC, you look at the Big Ten, there are running backs. There are about 4 to 5 really good running backs in every conference. When I say pretty good running backs that could look at Cam Akers, what he's doing with the Rams. When he was at Florida State, I thought he was pretty good, but he couldn't get any shine because Florida State was just stinking the place up. But Cam Akers was a good running back. It's not shocking me he's doing what he's doing now. Jonathan Taylor ran the ball more than anybody else in, it seems like, the history of college football up there in Wisconsin. So it doesn't really shock me that he's had success. But all of these people that I'm mentioning, they all were drafted later. And I know Hilaire was drafted at the very end of the draft, which I'm sure Kansas City is somewhat saying, ooh, so we got that option tied to him. But running backs these days, the shelf life, I'm not sure if you make that a priority at number 4. At number 4, you must get, if you're the Atlanta Falcons, in either round 1 or round 2, you must get a quarterback. You have to. You have to. Orion says we're signing the quarterback shop. We are signing the quarterback shop, retire. Yeah, I haven't heard. If I hear anything about Ben Kirk, I'm going to get y'all. Dobbins. Oh, yeah, Dobbins. Forgot about Dobbins. You're absolutely right. Dobbins has been, pretty good in that Baltimore rotation. Yeah, that was kind of a steal that they got. Brother Steve, thank you, brother. Thank you all, as always, man. Come join me again, man. I appreciate it. So, again, Arthur Smith, as far as what he's going to do, he's probably going to tell us about his philosophy. So I'm interested to see that first press conference, just to see where he comes. Polo says we're going to start Ben Kirk. Please don't start, because people will take you seriously. June, our second round pick for Hurst, right? Yeah. The second rounder, that second rounder, that was the one that we got for Sanu, because we actually had 2 second rounders last year, and we got that second rounder for Sanu in the trade for him from New England. So that was actually the New England second rounder that we ended up flipping that into him. What's up, brother Tidy? How you doing? Dobbins coincidentally was our draft pick, meaning that's what the Ravens sent for Hurst. Oh, okay. I see what y'all saying. Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. So again, you didn't have to go into the first round. I don't think you can invest in running backs anymore in the first round. You can't. I think the Giants are finding out now about Saquon Barkley, that it's just too. As much as Derrick Henry is doing right now, and I'm not putting a wash on the guy or nothing like that, how long do y'all think he's going to be able to run like that in this league? I'm not wishing any Earl Campbell injuries or anything like that on him or whatever. He's in much better shape than Big Earl was. But you can't tote the rock like that for a long time. Not for 4 or 5 years. And eventually, it's going to catch up with him. In my opinion. I think it will. What's going on, Antonio? How you doing? I just don't think that's a good. I have heard the number 4 pick. I would say with names, of course, Parsons out of Penn State, Sewell out of Oregon. Though a lot of people think he won't make it to number 4 for us. The quarterback rotation of Fields, possibly Wilson. If you ask me now. And it's so hard because right now, New York Jets are probably going to hold our draft fortunes, whatever they do at number 3. That's probably why you're not going to see Terry Fontenot or Arthur Smith go out there and say, well, our plan is to draft a quarterback. Our plan is to draft the linebacker. Oh, I forgot Patrick Surtain out of Alabama. I know that's another name I've been hearing in the top 5. I don't think you can show your hand right now until you see how this roster is going to be constructed. Folks, this roster is going to be pretty jacked up when you think about it. I'm attempting to share my screen real quick. If y'all can be patient with me for one quick second. And show you the salary cap thing that I'm looking at real quick. And of course, as soon as I do that, the internet is acting a fool. But we're in some big trouble. Somebody put on there about Ricardo Allen. That's probably somebody that we're going to have to shave off the top. How you doing, Anthony? Good to see you, brother. That's somebody you're going to have to shave off the top. You know, Neal I'm not sure we're going to be able to afford him. I'm really not sure we are. We may not be able to. I got this thing. Let me share. Let's see if I can share this. Trying to share this screen with you guys. Sorry. Oh, share the screen, Steve. Share the screen. And of course, it doesn't want to share the screen right now. Okay. Anyway, so let's look. I'm just looking at the salaries right now for the Falcons. We're already $25 million, they say, estimated over the cap, right? The 2021 salary cap, base salary, Matt Ryan, $23 million. Julio Jones, $15 million. Grady Jarrett, $13 million. Jake Matthews, $13 million. Jay Matthews also is a post 2021, post June 1st cut of $7,222,000. He might be somebody who is, thank you, Polo, $24.8 million over. Dante Fowler, $13 million base salary, $4 million, $4.6 million signing bonus, $800,000 roster bonus. Deion Jones, $8 million. He's still pretty average. James Carpenter. Now, we could find a cheap guard to come in here and take place. He's getting $5 million right now on our team. So that's something to think about when you start talking about salaries to cut. As far as free agents are concerned on this team, I'm going to read off these names, y'all, real quick. And I want y'all to tell me, are any of these people worth bringing back? Oh, yeah, definitely Carpenter will be cut. June says Parsons would be a good pick if we went to the 3-4 defense. Yeah, that'll be interesting to see what defense we go to as well, folks, to see what defensive people we go to. So here we go. I'm giving you the free agents on the Atlanta Falcons. And you guys tell me if it's any name that I mentioned on here. That's how we're gonna wrap up tonight. Tell me if any of these folks are redeemable to stay. Free agents. Alex Mack, Todd Gurley, Charles Harris, Kenu Neal, Brian Hill, Bleedy Ray Wilson, Luke Stocker, Darquez Denard, Sherrod Niesman, Laquan Treadwell, Younghoe Koo, Matt Gono, Christian Blake, Jacob Tuwadi Mariner, Brandon Powell. Any of those, and so just to let you know, the only person that makes me really turn my head with that list is the thought of Neil going, but who knows? You might have another safety in here that comes. Hawkins was playing pretty well when he got a chance to come in here, but there are not a lot of folks on this team, free agent wise, that you're going to keep. So keep in mind, those guys are gone already, and we're still $25 million over. With all those contracts expiring, we are still $24.8 million that we have to somehow finagle to get under this cap. Now, that's not including the money that you have to sign your rookies. And the rookie, remember the rookie rate, because we're number 4 this year, so we're going to be paying a little bit higher than you normally do. That's going to be interesting to see how. I see a lot of no's up here. No. Anthony says keep Gurley. Let me say something. And I don't think the Gurley signing was awful because you only paid $5 million. You didn't pay top notch. So if you got something out of them, okay. If you didn't get something out of them, $5 million for what used to be a pretty decent back, no harm, no foul. I'm not sure what the veteran minimum is, but he can't get one penny more than that. Maybe because he's closer to home, maybe he tries to stay. But there's no redeeming Gurley right now. Not this second. He's done as far as being that guy. He can probably still play a little bit, but he's done being running back one. No. Neil, keep Denard and Koo. Koo's number, they say the average kicker for what he's done is like $3 million, kind of like what Matt Bryant was trying to get. I'm not sure if this team can afford to pay $3 million to a kicker. I think you might have to go to the free agent board again. Or do like they did with Punter, pick somebody in the seventh round. Paul was a no. Coop and Treadwell have to go. Blake go. Powell go. Tidy says Denard, if we can keep him. Mariner, the great Young Ho. See, Young Ho, would love to keep Neal, but I think he'll be a hot commodity and free agent, and we won't be in. And that's my thing with Neal. Neal had a very, very, very solid year, especially coming back from 2 straight injuries. There are folks that think that he would have took a step back, and he did not. And if it wasn't for Alex Smith, I think he would probably be in the running for comeback player of the year. Because that was 2 straight years. I know he came in on 1 game or something and was hurt right after that. He had a pretty solid year. Youngway, I'm not sure we can do that. I'm not sure. Polo, my cousin, is happy in the ATL. He may take the vet minimum. Darquez Denard played a big role. Listen, Gurley seemed like he seemed like he liked where he was. That's the one thing. Now, the thing about being a free agent now that you see the new folks coming in who are going to have new ideas, how they want to do things, I don't know. Maybe after he has a talk with Arthur Smith to see, maybe. But that's the only way you can keep him with the veterans salary. Shin says Jim Moore Jr. 2.0. You talking about Arthur Smith? Shin, come on, man. Got to give him a chance. Listen, what we don't know is how will he be a good head coach. All of us can sit here and say what we want to, but in 2016, we were drinking the Dan Quinn tea with extra sugar. Because in 2 years, he took us from the downs of Mike Smith in that 6-10 season and took us to the Super Bowl in a matter of 2 seasons. Now, granted, it was fool's gold. We found out who was the real mad scientist, but you can't make a judgment on the man until he actually gets into the job. I'm willing to give him a chance. There's nothing on his resume that shows me he doesn't deserve a chance. I think he at least deserves a chance to say, let's see what he can give us. So I'm not going to go there, but I know, shit, you're one of a kind, buddy. Jim says Gurley was a victim of a bad OC and a scheme. Now, that could be true, too. That could be true, but you can tell he's a little bit different than he was. Homer says only Koo. And I hear y'all on Koo, but Koo gonna have to give us a little. I can't pay him more than 1.5. They talking about his market might be up in the $2.5, $3 million. No. I don't know. Shin says the offensive line is trash. Shin. Again, I'm not trying to sit here and try to convince you they're the hogs of the old Washington franchise, but I am saying they've come a long way from the garbage that they were maybe 2 years after the Super Bowl. 2 years after the Super Bowl, they couldn't keep Matt upright. I think if Matt had the line that he has now in 2017, 2017 especially, if he had some semblance of that, 2017 and a little bit of 18, I think he'd be okay. I think Matt has changed since then. Got you. And I would fight that battle, though. We got to make change. Sheehan, this team will be $30 million over the cap. I want to keep cool, but we can't afford it. We can't. Polo, highest paid safety in the league right now is Buda Baker at 14.75, and the average base is $8 million, and that could very well change this offseason. And yeah, we can't afford. If Neil came in and his agent said, you know what, since I didn't give y'all anything for 2 years, I'll give y'all a 1 year, $5-6 million contract, I'd jump on it. Because I think Neil is that $8 million, probably $7 to $8 million safety. I think he is. He makes a difference. Receivers know where he is. And I think he's really that good. She and Dan Quinn won off the backs of the Legion of Boom, and Shanahan took us to the Super Bowl. Jordan, honestly, the only reason Koo's number is high is because we couldn't score in the red zone. It's no way that he should have kicked that many field goals. True, but he had to make a lot of them too. I know the Kansas City game is the polarizing one that he missed, but he hit a lot of field goals this year. And yes, we weren't scoring in the red zone, and it was a lot of field goals, but at least he was hitting them. The guy we brought in here that couldn't even get out of preseason a couple of years ago, he shook out. Matt Bryant lost all he had. At least we had somebody who was kicking field goals. And when you think about in the dome, Koo didn't miss a lot. Now, will he try to parlay that into, look, somebody else might come up and say they'll take him. Somebody else might come and get him. You can't pay him money. You can't pay him big money, though. I'd rather draft a college kicker in round 6 than to pay Koo more than $2 million. You can't. Not on this team as it's constructed. You can't. And it says top contract after next year for Koo. But Koo's a free agent now. He's not going. You're not going to franchise him. You're going to franchise him. That means you got to pay him $2 or $3 million. I don't know what Justin Tucker is making. I know Justin Tucker is probably the highest paid kicker in the league, I would imagine. Yeah, look at it real quick. Imagine how much better Neil would look on a legit defense. Listen, if you're a safety away in the NFL, you have Neil. If you're a strong safety away, you're looking at Neil as a guy. Shoot, if Seattle hadn't jumped on Jamal Adams, and who knows, Seattle could try to grab Neil anyway. That would be an awesome move. Boy, that would be one step to them being back to the Legion of Boom that they were. If you could get Neil, and I know they're both strong, but wow, that would be something else. Just out of curiosity, for kickers, Justin Tucker makes $3.5 million and can make $4 million if he's on the opening day roster. Yeah, this year he does. Tucker's $25 million over 5 years, and I know they signed him to a nice contract. This is how you know your life is good as a kicker. If they would have cut Justin, if they would have cut him, that would be a $4.8 million cap hit before June 1st. That's a lot of money you paying for a kicker. But Justin Tucker is the truth, though. No doubt. Polo franchise tag for safety right now is at $5 million, so we may be able to swing Keanu or KZ. I'm not sure if you want to franchise KZ. I think KZ is a good dude, and I think KZ during a time when we were really looking bad kind of came on strong for us, but I'm not feeling him with a franchise tag. Not at all. Rusty says Neil is going to go to Dallas. Don't be shocked. Hey, we got to remember that. Dan Quinn is in Dallas. Some of these folks, now, yeah, not all of them, but Neil in Dallas, that might not. That's a very good thought there, Rusty. That's a very good thought. Gurley is a victim of no knees. Yeah, Gurley is done. Gurley is done being that guy. Now, he could probably still be redeemable, but he's done being that guy to me. I don't think he can live up to that again. So that's where we are as far as the Falcons. And today, Arthur Smith, look forward to seeing what's gonna really the first press conference to see what Terry is going to talk about. Tiny says Fowler's going to give us something this year. The new DC got to get more from him. We got to get something for that investment. We can't draft DNs every 2 years. You're right about that. Let me ask you a question. I think I put it up there on one of the posts. We said, do you make an offer to Ulbrich? Do you make an offer to him? It's something to think about. Now, if Arthur Smith has his own ideas, you can't be mad at him. But do you make him an offer legitimately? There is absolutely no doubt that you could see whatever string Dan Quinn had on this defense from the time he left. Yes, there were still holes. Yes, there were still some mistakes, but the defense played much better from the time he left, with the exception of probably the Tampa Bay games. The 2 Tampa Bay games, by then, I think we were probably mailing it in. But aside of the 2 Tampa Bay games, you would have to maybe think about asking him, does he want to stay? Dwayne says Dan recruited Neil at Florida. Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. He's probably, if you don't think he's on the phone asking him right now, because he knows the Falcons can't afford him, and he probably is chomping at the bits to get to him. Anthony, we have a lot of players who are held back by coaching hints, the absence after Quinn, and I think that maybe, I don't know. That's why it'll be interesting to see that first press conference to see what his philosophy is. Tiny says, I would make him an offer-only team to hold the Chiefs under 20 points this year. I believe defense came along pretty good second half of the season. And just think if those decisions would have been made earlier. Just think. Shane, the offensive line out of Oregon or Bama should be our LT for the next 15 years. Here's the only thing about offensive linemen, y'all. Aside of the guy playing for the Colts, Nelson, and Taylor Lewan, and I give Kansas City credit, was the guy. Is it Fisher? The first pick a few years ago. Really, a lot of offensive linemen take 2 to 3 years to develop as well. This guy, I see girth, I see big, I see whatever, but do you think right now That is the number one priority for this team. If by some chance Arthur Smith is tasked to say, we need to win now by Arthur Blank, and Arthur saying, I still want you to look for the future, but I need you to win right now. And if he says that, do you think offensive lineman is going to be the first pick we do? I'm going to tell you what Steve in the GM seat would do. Arthur's going to interview me right now. Say, yeah, I appreciate all the tools and stuff from Home Depot you giving me, Arthur. Thank you. Oh, what do I plan on doing? Oh, okay. Well, first of all, I'm in Atlanta, Georgia, and I know where I am. What you need to do is excite your base, Mr. Blank. And exciting your base means to bring in a new quarterback. Quarterback is the symbol of your team. Quarterback is the cornerstone of your franchise. You bring in a quarterback on this team, sir, you will, all those red spots that Fox and NBC are laughing at because everybody can see the seats, and you will at least stir up some type of excitement, sir. So I suggest that you take a quarterback. That was my interview. Thank you. So I think that's you have to do that. I don't think you get that with Sewell out of Oregon, Parsons out of Penn State, who didn't even play this year. You're hoping that he has what he had 2 years ago. So I need a splash for this franchise. And the splash doesn't have to even be open till 2022. But I need the promise going forward that this team will be exciting. Our quarterback will be a quarterback of the now and not of the then. So from a business standpoint, I'm coming in saying, yes, I'm going to work with Matt. We're going to try to get what we can out of him. But I'm thinking about 2022, 23, 24. And now you're in a division where the excuses are going to be gone. Drew Brees, headed out. Tom Brady, he'll be gone in a year or so. So everybody's transitioning. And you can stay behind the 8 ball if you want to and keep singing these songs of redemption for Matt. And it's not about hating Matt. It's about moving forward. And what better way to show the fans and those long-suffering folks from this franchise that you're willing to make a pick that will solidify your future than to pick a quarterback at the number 4 position. You don't get the number 4 position that often. You don't. Last time we got a top 5 pick, Matt Ryan. 5 of the first 6 years in the playoffs. It works. It can work. And I think with this guy being 38 years old, and I think with this guy probably having a finger on what the future is as far as offenses in the NFL, I think you have to make that move, y'all. It's okay. It's okay. We'll do Matt Ryan like they did Roddy White and Mike Vick, riding around on the car and Mercedes-Benz and thank him and put his name in the his name absolutely deserves to be in the Ring of Honor. He shouldn't even have to wait. From the day Matt Ryan leaves this franchise, you put his number up there in the Ring of Honor. Best franchise quarterback in the history of the Atlanta Falcons. Now it's time to move on. Or just to start the process of moving on. It's not hate on Matt. It's not. It's really not. And it bothers me to see folks taking this so seriously. It's not against Matt more than it is for the Falcons. Because before Matt, there was somebody and there's going to be somebody after him. And you can't deny 2008, 2009, we were 9-7 and didn't make the playoffs. 13-3, 10-6, 13-3 again. 2 down years back to the Super Bowl. But you can't deny that. MVP season. Great. And while I'm giving out, writing up obituaries, let me go ahead and start on Julio. I love some number 11. First one to tell y'all about number 11. That's all I used to post when I first used to get this. I'm not telling you that Julio should be thrown out to pasture, but I am saying you better start thinking about loading up those troops, because in another year, you can't afford to be doing this 1 play in, 5 plays out deal with a wide receiver that's making as much as he is. He's making too much money, y'all. He's making way too much money to accept listen, he already doesn't practice every day. He already, there are things in his muscles that are going on. Great things, because they've helped us in the past. But see, you can't get that pass with $22 million a year now. You can't. I can't give it to you. So you got to start thinking about the future. And that's number 18 right now. There's no shame in looking ahead. And because you have a new GM and because you have a new head coach, I just want to get some of y'all handkerchiefs ready, because it's coming. The changing of the guard is coming. I don't know who the quarterback is going to be. I hope it's somebody that's going to be redeemable and somebody take us into the future. But don't get stuck on just because we're saying Matt, we should move on, that there's a hate for Matt. There's no hate. It's not. Got to get out of your feelings. Julio, love him. Got 3 jerseys sitting over there right now with Julio. But it's almost time for you too. Especially with these overinflated salaries you guys have. That's all I'm saying. No big, nothing personal. Saw a lot of comments. Let me come down here. Anthony said we won't get the whole offensive line from either Alabama or Oregon, so we will trade for offensive line vets. I see us getting vets. Jake Matthews, Tidy says, is solid and his contract's locked in for 2 years. McGarry just got drafted. We got to allow him time to develop. I don't see how or why we take a tackle with the first pick. It makes no sense. Anthony said we will trade up for a quarterback. Yeah. 3 of those, it'll be interesting to see. I know they're not going to have, I got a feeling they're probably not going to do a combine this year with the way things are going. So you probably pretty much, you saw their combines during the regular season. Zach Wilson is definitely intriguing. He actually is. And if you haven't had a chance to look at his stuff on BYU, he got an arm too. I don't know if you have to trade him. Shia, do you want flash or do you want to finally build it right? As far as flash, I need to know what you mean by when you say flash. Tidy, as you were saying here, Steve, football is still a business first. NFL took primetime nationally televised game away from us because our home games are such an eyesore. I firmly believe we got to inject some hype back into this fan base and draft a player that people want to pay to see. When Mike Vick was drafted in this city, the year he was drafted, there was still more buzz and more people in the stadium, even when he didn't play. And then when he put himself on the sidelines, it wasn't like we were lighting up. 9-6-1, yeah, that's all right. But it was exciting. No, it doesn't have to be Mike Vick exciting. I think it was just fresh exciting. We were going from Chris Chandler, who is probably similar to Matt Ryan's age and abilities at the time, to new and fresh. And that tends to excite you. Why do you think they're excited in Arizona? Why do you see in Buffalo fans that get excited? I hadn't heard Buffalo being talked about in a significant football game before last year in 2 decades. I was still in the Army when Buffalo made a significant move in the playoffs. There's no harm in moving forward sometimes, y'all. And it is business. We can say whatever we want. It's business. The Patriots, as great as the Patriots have been over these last 2 decades, this year there were people ticked off because they didn't sustain the same amount of success that they did when Brady left. It's business. Fans just want to see something. When you replace Tom Brady with Cam Newton, I think you would have done better putting Stidham in there. And not because Stidham's any better, but Stidham at least gives you to say, you know what? He might get a little better. I don't think he will, but he might get a little better. Youthfulness, looking for the future. You were bringing Cam in as a stopgap, and it didn't work out. And it probably won't work out. I don't see Cam going back. Hold on, what's going on? Saying that's the best thing I've heard you say all night. Draft for your own future and still be able to win now. Absolutely. Absolutely. Ruben says, Robin, I'm sorry. My glasses are, they're very thick, Robin. I apologize. How do you feel about Fields? I like Fields. I think Fields would be a nice pick here. I think Fields would be a nice story here. I think Fields would stir up some moment, some passion and some, the same things that everybody talking about trading for Deshaun to bring him home. Well, Justin's from here in this area as well. And it from Georgia. That's Trevor is too. And hey, I think that would be nice. Are there things that could be corrected? Absolutely. But what better person to correct them than the young, up-and-coming head coach with the big offensive mind? Yeah, you could turn Ryan Tannehill into a serviceable quarterback. I'll take my chances. Shan, I'm for moving on from Matt before it's too late, but if Lawrence and Fields are gone, are you drafting Lance at 4 or your cornerstone left tackle? I don't think I'm not sure if I'm drafting Lance at 4. I'll say this though, Shan. If all 3, this is me, if all 3 guys are gone, Fields, Lawrence, and Wilson are gone by the time he gets to number 4, which I doubt it because I don't think Miami's going to draft a quarterback unless somebody trades with them. But if they're gone, then I would think about possibly falling back. I think Jake Matthews is going to be okay. I know I just sat there and told you about his cap hit and possibilities or whatever, but he hasn't been bad, folks. How many times did y'all hear his name this year? You really did. You really did. Jake had a pretty solid year. He had a pretty good bounce back year, if you ask me. I think it's easy to dog him out, but really look at it. I don't think he did. And I'm not that moved by Sewell. I think he's going to be really good because he's really big. Let's see how he does. There's nothing with him that says, I gotta get him. Not for me. Lisa, did you see the Urban Meyer interview today? I didn't, actually. He was asked about rejuvenating the Jaguars fan base. He acknowledged that losing has impacted the city's support. He plans to change that by bringing a winning product on the field. I think that's Blank's mindset too. It has to be. And I know there are people already trying to make that connection between Urban Meyer and Justin Fields. You're going to see in a heartbeat Urban Meyer say, I'll pass. He's going to take Lawrence. Toddy, just no reason to pay Matt and Julio $52 million per year with 4 games total, and you have 3 consecutive losing seasons. When this winning stops, it no longer makes sense. And I'm trying to tell you, that is the bottom line, folks. When you're losing, if we were winning, folks wouldn't be talking about this money. Nobody would be saying anything. Tampa Bay went out there and paid a lot of money for some old cats to come on their team and play ball for Tampa. You think anybody's talking about salary cap right now in Tampa Bay? But they're talking about it in New England. They're talking about it in Carolina. When you don't win, Jimmy says Wilson fits the mold of the quarterback similar to Tannehill, so don't be mad if he's the 4th pick. I'm not going to be mad. I think he might be okay. Epic, Steven, do you think Urban Meyer is going to take Justin Fields in the draft because he fits the scheme that Urban Meyer's run? Listen, I just 30 seconds ago said he wouldn't, but I think he's going to play it too. I think he might play it up too. You never know. Urban might play it, try to fool everybody. You never know. I think he's going to pick Lawrence, though. Shane, I wish I had the DVR so I could show you clips of Jake Matthews' average blocking abilities. Nobody sat here and said he was Larry Allen, Shane. I didn't say that. We don't have the type of team that's going to put anybody on a pedestal. Grady Jarrett is probably the most underrated defensive lineman in the game because he plays on a 4-12 team and a 7-9 team 2 years in a row. If we were on a winning team, if our team was winning and was in the playoffs, the last 3 years, Grady Jarrett would be an all-pro. Trust me. Anthony Spell, sorry for the misspells, man. I can't spell either, man. Hold on. Why does that people think Lawrence is better than Fields or Wilson? Listen, I watched Lawrence from the time he got in, and I'm going to tell you what, I was a little twisted when they not benched, because Kelly Bryant got hurt for Clemson. And they put Trevor Lawrence in. And I said to myself, man, that's some dirty stuff right there. Kelly Bryant seemed like he's going to be a pretty good little quarterback. And y'all just going to mess around and put that young boy in there who's a true freshman and you trying to say he's better? Trevor Lawrence has arm strength. Trevor Lawrence, sneaky athletic on you. Sneaky quick on you. And Trevor Lawrence looks like he has a command of that offense. I look at Justin Fields and I say Justin Fields definitely has some arm strength. Definitely look like he can put it in some pockets. But it always scares me when I see people use their legs more than their arm. And he's improved that over the last year. Because last year I saw him using his legs quite a bit. I just want to have a good balance between that. I think that's the reason why I think coaches like to see quarterbacks that can be able to escape pressure, but not necessarily. It's kind of like a formula that Mike Vick fell into. Mike Vick had the abilities that no other has ever had. And I'm sorry for people that say Lamar Jackson is better, maybe throwing, but I'm going to tell you, when Mike took 2 steps, if you're in the stadium, and anybody who was in the stadium when Mike Vick was playing, like I was, you know how exciting your quarterback is. When Mike Vick was in the pocket and it broke down, and you saw him take those first 2 steps, and then, like when you were sitting in section 3, like I was in section 315 earlier, not 325 earlier on. And the people in front of you would stand, and they would stand, and they would stand every single time. Not when the quarterback is just going back to throw. Every single time he did that, and he took those 2 steps like he was about to cut 10 yards down the field, and he would only do like a incomplete pass. The excitement of that. That's something we're missing. We're missing that real bad. I'm telling you. Titan said, speaking of Tampa, I know they felt extra bad with COVID. They finally went in and got a true star power in Tampa. They've always had attendance issues, and I'm sure they would have sold out their stadium this year under normal section. And they would have. They would have. And give credit to them, and Bruce Arians for saying, hey, I'm going to bring him in, bring Tom Brady in. I think Tampa has a really good chance of beating New Orleans. I know there's going to be a national sympathy for New Orleans. Drew Brees probably leaving, blah, blah, blah. I ain't forgot about the summer with Drew Brees. But anyway, I do think Tampa has a really good chance of knocking them off this time. Armani says Trevor Lawrence is the best quarterback in the draft. I think so, too. Thank you, Epic. I appreciate that, man. Thank you so much. Alan says Trey Lance is the sneakiest pick of the draft in reference to the quarterbacks. His elusiveness looks similar to Lamar Jackson. Can be deceiving, though. A new coach can groom him well. Alan, you basically could put my name over your name, and that's exactly how I feel about him. If things don't work out in the top 4 where you don't get one of those 3 guys, I'm trying to tell you, that's a person that you can sneak around, and he would be the perfect person because I don't think he's NFL day 1 ready, but I do think he could be somebody that could, make a difference with a year of tutelage. Escape to make play, not escape to be the highlight. Yeah, and listen, you're right about that. And be able to still look down the field. Lisa, like Mayor Keisha said, ain't anybody but the Aints. I know that's right. She and Lamar is the better passer because he actually studied to be better, but there was no one as talented as Mike was at the quarterback position. I'm just sad we never got to see his full potential. Yeah, because Philly did, right? I do too. Brady doesn't lose much in the playoff games. Whatever that clutch gene is, he is. Look, as much as you want to hate him, and definitely hate him for a 4th quarter in February in 2017, Tom Brady wins. Y'all, folks, I appreciate y'all. I stayed on long today, man. Y'all kept me on here real long, which is great. I love it. We'll talk more when we get this general manager thing rolling. And hopefully we can get Terry Fontenot and Arthur Smith to talk about the direction for this team so we can see where we go. We'll talk a little bit after the playoff games, probably if not Sunday night, Monday morning, or Monday afternoon. Y'all have a great weekend and take care. Happy MLK weekend to everybody. Go out, give to somebody, man. I mean, these times are for real. Listen, seriously, y'all stay safe. This stuff is not political with masks. This stuff is not political. Y'all need to stay safe. I'm starting to get more and more folks who are getting into dire situations because of this thing that people are pushing off as being some flu. This is not the flu. Y'all be safe out there. Mask up. Respect other people. Do what you need to do, okay? Y'all take care. Thank y'all for watching. I appreciate y'all. Peace.